Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane, with me, Rich Wilson. And in the background over there, we've got producer Paul. Here he is with his little hat.
I've got a microphone.
And he's got a microphone. We're letting him get involved. So it's more, if you can see what goes on. As we've said many times before, this podcast wouldn't be anything without producer Paul and his knobs.
That's very kind, very kind.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Credit where it's due, mate. Credit where it's due. How are you? Are you all right? Is everyone out there all right? Are you good? Yeah, we're coming up to Christmas. We just had Halloween, and we're getting into Christmas now. And I can't believe how quickly 2024 has gone by. I mean, maybe it's something to do with having a little one crawling around, and you're kind of distracted from the life outside of that. But yeah, little Bodie's up and about, running around, crawling, climbing, smashing into things, absolute carnage. But
I don't regret my vasectomy. So. I'm just going to butt in here because, of course, we were going to plug the YouTube channel.
I am doing it
for those that aren't actually already watching this on YouTube. It's worth looking at the camera. Okay.
Oh, I see. I'm always looking at that one.
Yeah.
There's two cameras.
See your eyes rolling around the top of the ceiling there.
Hello, everybody.
That's what that camera's for.
Oh, that's what that's for. I haven't looked at that all day. Hello, mate. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Okay. So I always look at that one on the laptop.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Little side profile.
Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. If you're listening to this and you're not watching on YouTube, this is the kind of content you have to look forward to. As well as all the videos of all of the guests that we have on. If the video is of good quality, sometimes it's not, and we have to bail on that. But and also you can see there's clips of me doing my comedy. There's other stuff that's connected. There's also as you can see now on YouTube, as I'm reading from my pad. We've got my podcast. This is the podcast. My website, richwilsoncomedian.com, and that takes you to all my dates. That takes you to every episode of this very podcast. All the links are on there. Producer Paul has very kindly put it all onto one page now, so you don't have to scroll anywhere. You don't have to click on anything else except the links that take you to where you want to go. There's no bullshit on it. He's really, really taking it down to the bare bones, which is good because there was a lot of old shit on there. But no disrespect, there was a lot of old shit, but it just needs to be streamlined. Producer Paul's done that. So richwilsoncomedian.com, that will take you to everything that we're doing. There's also our radio show now. We're on Radio Bath at 12 noon on a Saturday. That's when the Tuned Up Time Machine is back out on DAB, or you can say Alexa, enable Radio Bath. So it's on your little Bluetooth speaker there. You can have us in the shower. How about that? We can be the soundtrack to your ablutions, which is a great album title. And on the depending on when this is in your ears, December the 1st, 2024, we've got our next Dark Horse Live at the Sussex Arms in Tunbridge Wells. Rob Copland, Edinburgh newcomer winner 2024. He's going to be our headliner with some other brilliant acts, and myself I'm going to be on. I think even the old Ball and Chain is on. I think old Kate McGann's going to be on, so it's worth coming down. Yeah, come down to the Sussex Arms December 1st. And please, give us some likes, give us some subscribes, do all that business, because the more likes and subscribers we get, the more ears this gets into, the more eyes this gets into. So if you do that for us, that would be great. Thank you. It's a good job I clean my nails.
Stop touching the lens.
I didn't quite touch it. I was nearby. Anyway, so that's the admin. That's everything now, isn't it? That's the admin. Whew.
Who's on this week?
This week we've got a mate of mine, Steve Parry. Steve Parry, he does a lot of writing for a lot of TV writing, and I met him doing stand-up a good few years ago. And it was, as you'll hear in the episode, I haven't seen him in years. But we talk about that and the fact that even though we don't see people, you still feel like you're connected to them because you see them online. So, it was good to catch up with him, good to have a chat. And to be honest, we could have just left this one recording and we still would have been talking now. We had a massive chat before we pressed record. We had a massive chat after we stopped recording. It could have gone on and on and on. Steve's a great guy, great to chat with him. And you'll hear that in a minute. So coming up in a minute is Steve Parry. Yeah. Well, I'm loving the do. I think it looks great, Steve.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah.
it was. I've just had it cut as well, believe it or not.
Have you? It looks great.
Yeah.
I think when
Yeah.
you get to an age, I don't know about you. When you get to a certain age, you start to you go, oh fuck it, I just dress how I want. Whereas before, you kind of you had an idea, or you were more conformist, maybe. I don't know. I'm speaking from my own. Yeah.
I am definitely 100% getting more excited by like fashion and stuff like that as I get older. I'm getting a bit more interested in it and taking a bit more time on it, despite how I might appear today.
You look great.
But no, I remember with the hair, I generally remember when I decided to grow it, and it did change quite a lot of things for me. You know, it helped me find an identity in a sort of sea of people.
Yeah.
Even if it was only that, you know, and you know the Mick Hucknall jokes or the Mark McLaren jokes or the you know whatever it is, you know, the modern ones are they're more Ed Sheeran based these days. Do you know what I mean?
Are they? Yeah.
You know, I've had it long enough now to sort of gone through about 3 lots of topical people who I look like. But yeah, it's been good though. It helped me out a lot, and I did used to have it like proper, like curly and really long, and it definitely helped me with a bit of an identity and sort of finding myself, and that not giving a fuck in terms of what you look like in a way.
Yeah.
Also helps you in yourself, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, it definitely does. And so that went away a bit. And I think you've also, with long hair, you've got to be careful, I think, as you get older. So I got my daughter constantly monitoring it now. So it's like, you know, because you don't want to be the Francis Rossi guy. Do you know what I mean? You does the tiny ponytail and no hair. You know, these bits go on forever, right down his back, like.
The bald man ponytail, yeah.
Yeah, because you can get, you know, everyone gets locked in their look, don't they? You know, it happens a lot more, I think, certainly happened to women of my mother's generation. Sort of, I find a lot of them like picked a hairdo in the 80s, and that was like, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it. I mean, it works for them, so good luck. So you know, I'm gonna rock it as long as I can. I'm sort of hoping to have full on like Father Christmas. If it goes properly white,
yeah.
This used to be bright red, right? If it goes white. That'd be good. I wouldn't mind that at all. What was it like for you? You've embraced the silver fox thing?
I have, and do you know
what?
You
enjoy it? You happy with it, or would you deep down prefer to be, you know, have the sort of brunette locks of yesteryear?
Do you know what? It's only since COVID I've seen pictures of me from 2019 recently, and you go, Jesus Christ! It was only then. This is really kind of escalated, this silver fox look. Whereas before it was like bits and pieces, but now it's like I got asked to do Father Christmas for this thing. They didn't give me a beard.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm that now.
It's good to know the parts we're all up for these days, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, dodgy Santa Claus.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I got heckled as Ricky Tomlinson a little while ago.
Oh, brutal.
That was horrible.
Brutal, but also I'd like to shake that heckler by the hand as well.
Well, do you know what? Funnily enough, it was at a gig in Burnham-on-Sea, which is near Minehead, sort of West Country, and there were a group of them, friends and family, and they heckled me. They were giving me shit. The gig was weird, and we had a nice time. It was good weird. Yeah. And then afterwards, I went and had a pint, and they were there, and we ended up sitting around having a chat. I ended up going to their wedding last Saturday.
Never. Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it?
They went, do you want to come? And I went, yeah, all right, fuck it. And thinking it'll never happen. They sent an invite, proper invite, and then I said to my wife, Kate, I'm like, what do you reckon? She went, yeah, fuck it. We just went to this wedding of people that
excellent. Full day or just evening do?
We got asked to go to the day. I was gigging in the evening, but full thing, yeah. We were there for the ceremony.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
How mad is
Perhaps
that?
Perhaps this is where we're headed, like a barter economy. Do you know what I mean? I'll do you 20 minutes of stand-up if you buy me a dinner and put a disco on. You know, some free Prosecco. Because I tell you why, I saw this is some, you know Joe Ball?
Yeah.
Like the comedian, yeah? He's a good mate of mine, and I saw on his Facebook recently, he'd done a gig, and he was desperate to get tickets for the Arsenal. And somebody in the audience said, "Oh yeah, we loved your show. We're going tomorrow. Do you want to come with us?" And he ended up going to the football with them. Yeah. So I think this is how it's going to be from now on. You know, you'll have to tell a few jokes to get a pint of milk.
Well, do you know what? Though? I'd go back to that. I'd be happy with that.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind that. So it's funny. There's a comic called Scott Adams, and he's also got like a delivery company, like man with a van, company, and he said, look, if you ever need like help with moving and things like that, I was like, mate, yeah, I do on this date, and he went, brilliant. So he turns up with a van. We moved all the stuff into our house. And then he went, right, he goes, look, don't pay me any money, but I'll book you for a gig. And then so I'm doing a gig for him in exchange for him moving my stuff.
Excellent. It's a good way of doing it, I think.
Yeah.
I remember Paul Harry Allen, who was a comedian I used to be mates with. He's not around on the circuit anymore, but, he's still about somewhere. And he got a pair of glasses off an optician who came to a gig. And the bloke said, if you come and do my party, I'll give you a pair of glasses.
Oh,
so
mate!
He got a sweet pair of like nice, proper, like decent glasses. He just had to go around and do the most awkward gig in the world. But
I got glasses. I got there's Specs Pistols in Dundee, I believe they are, and they just I was sort of linked to just Phil Jupitus on Instagram, and he'd been bigging them up, and then he messaged me and just went, do you want some glasses? Send me your prescription. And he sent me these banging glasses for my readers. And
excellent.
So that's why when you're nice to people, and you know, you got a good vibe, nice things happen. It's a nice thing.
That's right. They definitely do. They definitely do. Yeah, I know. I think it's definitely the way we need to go because there's certainly not a lot of money left in our industry. So if we can get our plumbing done and our get the garden, get the edge cut and stuff like that, then I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea.
I think I am as well. Money causes so much grief and upset, especially in our industry where you're waiting for it constantly.
Yeah,
it's just like
I know.
I did a gig.
I work a lot, as you know. A lot of my work is in TV, really. Yeah, and as an industry as a whole, it's. I think I read something recently that's like 70% of freelancers are currently unemployed in the industry.
Wow.
And that's going from like producers to researchers to writers, which is what I primarily do. And because what I think has happened is like, talking about all the, things changing in COVID, I think, TV, the acceleration of people moving online, getting into podcasts, starting to look at social media rather than going on the telly. I think, that accelerated that. Do you know what I mean? And I think also a generation who might have just stayed watching the telly and not bothered with, all the different YouTube and different things you can do now, like 50s plus, I thought they were locked in watching the telly for the rest of their lives, and they're not. No. They're all off on the. My mum is as, active on social media and all those things as my daughter. Do you know what I mean? It's mental. So so it's accelerated it, and so what we have is I have feast and famine type situations in my game. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a kind of, I'll be sitting pretty after the end of a series for a few months, and then suddenly, it all starts to get a little bit more. Then tap dancing for taxi rides.
That's a great title for a book. Tap dancing for taxi rides.
Yeah, the return to the barter system. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's like I had this idea. Like producer Paul and I, we've had this idea, and I sort of put it out to a few TV people. And went, look, what about this? What about that? And they came back and they went, it's a great idea. It's a great idea, but you got to do this and you got to do that. And I kept banging up against everything. And then I went, oh fuck it, I'm just going to film it. I'm going to do it myself. Yeah. And that's what's happening. Everyone's going, well, I'll just do it myself because this is too complicated. It's only going to be watched online anyway because that's where it is. And then you've got the second screen potential because people watch stuff, but then they've got their phone as well. So they're looking at whatever they're watching and they're looking at their phone. So you've got to take that into account. And I think it's taken TV by surprise. Like you said, the acceleration of it.
It really has. It really has, I think. It's one of those situations where you go, well, hang on. You look at what is online. You look at the sort of content that is going straight to YouTube, by influencers and comedians are doing. You're going, well, this is really exactly what used to be on the telly. So TV companies, you'd think, would be in a perfect position to make the most of that. But at the moment, they don't seem to be able to tap into it for some reason. It's quite interesting, I think. It's like a bit like, when Blockbuster Video, you'd have thought, why did they get taken over by Netflix like that? They saw it coming. They knew this, the technology was coming down the road. They could see that the world was changing. And yet, for some reason, they couldn't quite tap into what it was that's different about YouTube that people like more.
I think it's the money. What I've garnered from talking to people is, and it's people that put TV shows together and then promote and then present them to directors or whoever. And they all said the same thing. They go, they're going to need to know where the money's going to come from, how they're going to make money from this. Yeah, and that's where it's falling down, because they're too busy worrying about how are we going to make money from this. When you go, look, if you do it, because it doesn't cost them anything as well. If we're putting the effort in, it's not going to cost them anything. So just get behind it, because you'll make money in the long run from something. You've just got to, but they're so stuck in their ways where they go, we need to know if we're going to make X amount of profit and this, that and the other.
Exactly.
And that's where it falls down.
I was looking this week, someone was showing me the ratings. I never really look at ratings. It's never really interested me really that much. But someone was showing me them for last Saturday night, right? The BBC, in fairness, loads of new shows. They had I can't remember what it was now, but it was, whatever it was, right? There was something else. Strictly was on. Loads of shows that they were making that were, made some live stuff. There was quite a lot of things. Then you look at Channel 4, right? Every single thing, I think there was one exception in the top 10 most rated shows on Saturday night for them, were all repeats. Because they're terrified to spend any money, because it's hard to, they don't know what to do, really. I think they're all a bit lost, because they feel like they've got to chase their tail with getting it right with, internet-y things. But then you go, hang on, let's just take a breath. Still, the vast majority of people, the most people watch stuff are watching telly, right? Still, right? It's not like it's all over bar the shouting. No. So, in my view, they need to be, like you say, a bit more confident, seeing new stars, like putting comics on telly. Yeah. I mean, to be on the telly now is really what shows are there really, apart from there's Live at the Apollo, but there's no sketch shows. There's not many smaller stand-up shows. There's very little alternative stuff. Unless you're trying to be the next big mainstream star, there's not a lot of space there. And some stuff, it's not like there isn't examples of good stuff that happen. I think there is some brilliant stuff, and stuff like, that Sophie Willan thing is brilliant. Isn't it? That's absolutely fantastic. And I thought the Bridget Christie thing last year, see that, the change. Yeah. That was really good as well, I thought. So I think, there's loads of good stuff like that. And then I think James A, seen those game shows and stuff, and Taskmaster, they prove that people will watch that stuff if it's out there. But, you can't leave it to a room of people who are only looking at the bottom line to make those calls, really. Exactly. And that's the difficulty, isn't it? That's where we are.
That's what happens every time. It's always the people that, they've had it a certain way for so long, they can't see beyond that. And that's where it falls down. And what they need to do is just set up an online channel, like YouTube. Like, I don't know, Channel 4 or something. I said this ages ago. Like, I was talking to, bless him, he's not here anymore, but Paul, that used to be the manager at Up the Creek. And I said to him, I said, you should do like live from Up the Creek on I don't know what day of the week, but maybe Thursday or a Sunday night or something, and do it live from Up the Creek. Stream the whole show properly, and then we all know that we're getting streamed. Yeah, do something like that, and then that way people get to see a proper comedy night. They don't have to leave their house.
Yeah, and not to bang on about the bloody pandemic, but that's one of the good things that came out of that, is people worked out how to do that and realised that was a possibility. Yeah. So why... I'm surprised that people didn't incorporate streaming their gigs more into their clubs. Do you know what I mean? When
Exactly.
when everyone went back to the clubs, that is surprising. I think that didn't happen, but because I think there is space for that.
Yeah.
You know, I really do. I really think they'd be really surprised. I think they'd make money out of that almost straight away if they
straight away
put that out.
Yep.
You know, I think because it's a well-known brand, isn't it? You know, you've got acres and acres of good, great people who people have never seen. You know, beyond the circuit,
Exactly.
who are fantastic, and it just seems so daft that you know that it doesn't exist really. Because I'd watch it.
Exactly, everyone would, and you put because everyone says stand-up comedy doesn't work on TV. It doesn't work when they shiny floor it, as you know. Like if you take straight stand up and then just have it, then and it because it's so, it has to be sort of diluted as well because you know it's on TV, so you can't say this, you can't say that. And I don't mean subject matter, I mean words, like swearing. But if you did it like live from up the creek, for example, and then you got your intervals, so that's where your adverts are. And you just have a cut, so you're going to make your money from that.
And then you can chop it all up and put it all out on Instagram and socials and stuff like that as well. So you know, every big laugh gets more out of doing it on, doing that. I mean,
simple. It's right
Someone
there.
needs to write a business plan, don't they? Thing is, you're asking an ADHD comedian, and I don't know what you've got or what you are, but. Between us, the chance of us organising. I mean, this is why we started this conversation talking about what was it, banter for barter or whatever. Making money out of just talk. Getting paid in kind. We couldn't sit in these rooms and imagine how quickly we'd spend their budget. Imagine it. It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? That should be the show. There we go. They get 2 shows for the price of 1.
See how quickly we could blow the budget. It'd be a short programme.
Yeah, like Brewster's Millions, only with more custard pies and
You've got 40 grand. How quickly can you get food? Oh, you've done it. All right, cool.
What's
Thanks.
that, lunchtime? You say?
Oh man, I don't know. Talking about your ADHD and things like that. I think we've all got to be doing what we're doing. We've obviously got something somewhere. This is why I have producer Paul, because this wouldn't go out. This, like I've said this many times. If this was me, I'd get to the recording bit, but then it would just be a load of recordings on my phone, on my laptop. So I need someone on the outside who knows all the technical stuff and how to get this out. So that's what you need.
Mate,
you need a day walker. You need a day walker.
You see all this stuff, don't you, on social media or TikTok about the 10 things that make you ADHD, right? And I associate with quite a lot of those, and I think a lot of people who aren't ADHD would probably associate with a lot of those as well. But the number one for me is not finishing stuff.
Oh yeah,
not finishing projects. So you talk about having, you just have this on your phone,
Yeah.
I have done that. I have done that. About 15 years ago, I did a podcast with Rob Beckett and Joe Swash, right?
Oh, wow.
Where we just all sat round my flat and basically laughed at Joe Swash, to be honest with you, right? And it was before Rob wasn't as big a star, of course, as he is now or anything. I'm not saying what could have been or anything, because I think, he found his way, did his thing. But we were playing, it was just when everyone was just, playing around, And they were funny, but did they go further than, my computer and maybe sending them to them to listen to? No. Because I just got totally mired in the making of it and the worrying about which, because I was actually, I've been trying to think of doing some podcasting, because, apparently you have to now if you live in, if you work in the media, it's compulsory now,
yes,
isn't
absolutely,
it, to have your own podcast. So I was, working out, thinking about things to do, and, I found a list I wrote, must be 10 years ago that I wrote it. And you're looking at it going, all of them now are podcasts, aren't they now? More or less,
Yeah.
Not in, because, it's one of those things, isn't it, where, the fantasy, insert event in life, the fantasy version of dinner party, wedding, funeral, whatever, all of those have been done. And actually some of them are fantastic as well. And, I think I got stopped a lot of the time by if you have a lot of ideas, I think sometimes you need an edit. You really do need an editor,
Yes.
or somebody else. You need to work with other people to go. No, that idea is the best one. The others are absolute nonsense, mate. You know, a bit now. And as a stand-up, you have that with it's called an audience, isn't it? In stand-up,
Yes.
You know, you go out with a bunch of ideas, and essentially they cut the show for you, don't they? You know, you know. Whichever bits they laugh loudest at stay in, and the bits that they don't like disappear, and eventually you've got a solid set. And it's a bit harder, or it's not hard, but it's different. I think when you're writing stuff and you don't know you don't know, like something like a podcast, you don't know if it's any good. You don't know, you're if you're working on your own, you can just sort of end up in a a circle of self-doubt about stuff. And you know, it's like I occasionally, I'm very occasionally and very foolishly on behalf of the people who book me asked to go and speak to like students and stuff like that about, getting into the world and all that, And I obviously try and put them off, like there's not enough room for you boys, but so I try and after I've failed to try and put them off, I always sort of say, look, people always say, take your time, don't chill. I always say, just be in a massive rush and accept that whatever you make in the first 5 or 10 years, whatever it is of your career, the first things you put up on YouTube, you will be embarrassed about in 2 years' time. You just will, right? Yeah. And unfortunately for you, you live in a world where that stuff doesn't disappear and is forgotten, like when you were a shit stand-up or when I was, I was shit at it, or, it's not like sending in to a producer who's a gatekeeper who will tick the jokes they want and get rid of all the crap ones. You haven't got that. You've just got to get your place in the telly or the entertainment business, I suppose, more generally now. You've got to without being too crude about it, throw your shit at the fucking wall and wait and see what works, And it's not. It wouldn't be my preferable way of being creative, if you know what I mean. In some ways, it's brilliant. In other ways, it gets a bit. You're overfaced by everything, aren't you, on Facebook and social media? And I find getting to do that for myself, to try the social media. Like I had to go at doing a character on TikTok last year.
Oh yeah,
and it went all right. Okay, bits of it were okay, and I enjoyed doing the character, and I've learned something from it. But I didn't get any buzz off likes. I didn't get any. It just felt like admin. Yeah. You know what I mean? Being rewarded for admin, and I was just like, I don't want to. That's the bit I want to absolutely erase out of my life, so I can do the fun stuff. And it feels like social media again has become this thing that is now the gatekeeper's now actually the fact that I don't really, and also it's the being in your face thing, like the idea that once people have all sat down in a comedy club or have turned on a TV show, they've chosen to watch that. They've chosen to invest some time in having a look at what you're doing. They might turn it off, they might not like it, but they've invested some time and thought in it. It's just rammed in your face. It's like people jumping out at you and telling you a joke. Do you know what I mean? It's like walking down the street and so some fucking bloke just starts, trying to balance a load of fucking Jengas on his head or something. I don't know. Whatever it is that you see on social media, and it's doing a dance, and it's like, yes, I really like what you do, a lot of it when you stop and watch it, but I don't I'd quite like to find a way of being able to find that for myself again without it, so it feels a little bit more natural the way I get to it. My daughter's got an AI like DJ on her Spotify now. I don't know, like, and this dude goes, I think you're going to like this, and I'm kind of going, fair enough. You're not pretending that you're not,
Yeah.
It is, it's total buying into the algorithm, innit? I think the algorithm in some ways is great, but it's written, it takes a lot of the fun and the diversity, I think, the difference out of stuff. And I can't remember how we got to that, but it was at the start, it was a good point.
Typical ADHD, we're going everywhere. Well, it's funny. My middle son, Bailey, messaged me the other day, and he said, "Do you know this song, Dad? I'm trying to find this song." And he sent me a picture, sent me the clip of it. And then I'd been at a gig, so I hadn't seen all the messages. And I saw him just go, do you know this? It's driving me mad. I need to find it. Blah, 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 blah. I found it. It's all right. And I went, mate, I said, I'm glad you found it. It's infuriating. I said, back in the day, you had to really earn your tunes. Like, if you heard something, you had to physically leave your house, go out, go and find it, take a punt. You might not even know. You got a lyric or something, and you go, right. So you're in a shop, and you go, that was the lyric. Maybe it's called that. And you're trying to find the record. And 9 times out of 10, you'd buy the wrong one.
But it would take you on a little adventure, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And you'd end up somewhere else, And that journey that enriched the experience, didn't it? Undoubtedly, Just I used to remember longing to be able to get my hand on tracks, or you'd talk to someone down the pub who'd heard a record that was amazing, and you go, I wish I'd heard that record, and then you try and find it, and in the end you might go around their house, or they might do your tape, or it might be on the radio, and you'd have a bit of John Peel or Tony Blackburn at the start of it, and then you'd get it in, you'd play it, so there was some fun in that, wasn't there? And the physical object as well obviously makes it more tangible, doesn't it? It makes it feel more real, I think. It does sound like old man stuff, because I do love my Apple Music and all that stuff as well.
Yeah, same. Absolutely.
I'm really, can't, in a way I look back and I go, Jesus, that was the dark ages. But I think it meant you sort of really critically devoured every single bit of everything you got, didn't you? You really licked the plate clean because you didn't have much stuff, and you had to share it about a bit. And I think as well, it was more, and I think this was a bit true of comedy when we were sort of starting out, is that you found your tribe through music a bit. Like music was a definite way of finding your people.
Definitely.
And now I think in an age of like X Factor, where you're allowed to like Elton John and The Cure. You know what I mean? Whereas we live in a world now where that's all right. Whereas I think when I was growing up, you had to take sides on that stuff.
Oh God, yeah. You know
what I mean? And now
there's no way I would have admitted liking Elton John back in the day. Absolutely not.
No, exactly. But now, because the tribe you'd be out of the tribe. You'd cast out into the forests. But the internet has allowed people, or social media really, isn't it, has allowed people to connect without it having to be through. It can be more directly through what they are interested in, rather than going, well, I'm sort of interested in fashion, and new romantics look amazing, or the goths look fantastic, or and then you suddenly get into the music that goes with the clothes, that goes with the thing. People pick and mix more now, don't they? Like my daughter's mental on musical theatre.
Right.
Really loves music, everything to do with musical theatre songs, but also loves Nirvana. I'm a bit like, hang on now. This is like there's a Rubicon. There's a line here. It's like a picket line. I'm not sure you're allowed to cross that. But
those are two things that should never be in the same bracket. You'd think.
I know. But then also the truth is that we all love Elton John, don't we? And we all love bits of and it's that thing of. I think as you get older, you give less of a shit about that stuff. But clearly, the youngsters don't give don't care about that anymore, because it's not how you find your tribe.
Yeah.
So therefore, music is even more disposable in a way than it was, at the sort of height of pop in the 60s or 70s or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's mad how things change so quickly. I think like talking about last time I saw you, I mean, how many iPhones ago is that? Do you know what I mean?
God.
It's like, fuck me, we could have been texting on Nokias, man. Do you know what I mean? And it's like
how many iPhones?
So how much things change as times move on? you know.
But it's funny.
But, yeah.
I wanted to talk to you because when I messaged you and said, "Do you want to come on?" and you were like, "Yeah," and you said, "Oh, you know, because I wanted to see what you've been up to," and because I know you're right for TV and things like that. But then you said you've been going through it a little bit, and I don't know, is that connected to the rapid changing of the world, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think I've had. It hasn't been the easiest couple of years in terms of work really. I think it's what I was saying earlier on about how the TV industry is kind of collapsing quite quickly, and that isn't impacting on the people who run the companies necessarily. Well, it is, I'm sure, on their profit margin, but it's certainly not stopping ITV paying profit dividends every couple of times a year. And a lot of the problem is the channels are not. They've sort of won't open the taps on the money since there were a couple of things I think happened. Is that one, I can't remember. I think Channel 4 shat themselves when COVID happened, and so over-commissioned in that little window there was where we all went back to work, but we kind of were worried we were going to end up being locked up again, which I think we were. And so they massively overstretched it. So suddenly they had loads of stuff on the shelf. So that was a year where they weren't really commissioning stuff. Then economically they just sort of really struggling. You know, they were almost getting threatened with being privatised, weren't they, or sold off?
Right.
I think,
A
couple of years ago, and so and they stopped in a way. I mean, obviously, I'm really hoping they get their act together and bring it back, because I think there's, it's such a badge of alternative comedy, isn't it, for Channel 4? It should mean...
Absolutely, yeah.
To me, it means, it sums up all that stuff that really made me want to be involved in comedy
it was an
at
absolute,
all, like Alexi Sale or, whoever it might, Mark Thomas, all those people who had brilliant shows there. You kind of go, yeah, you have to remember they weren't Mark Thomas when you gave him the Mark Thomas Comedy Project. He became the guy. He was obviously a majorly brilliant comedian, but
absolutely, yeah.
People weren't tuning in because it was Mark Thomas. They were tuning in because it was a brilliant show with this really fantastic guy that most people in the country had never seen before, and they don't do that now. They just, everything has got a well-established big name at the top of it, and it's just very frustrating, I think, and it must be, and in a way, there's almost a whole generation of comics in a way who are going to go, well, nah, then if TV isn't playing the game, then we'll go off and do it our own way, and find ways of doing it for ourselves. But I don't know, it's been a tricky one with the. I think that is the biggest issue in mental health, isn't it? For me, I think the biggest trigger, anyway, can be that where's the next meal coming from thing.
Yeah.
Equally, I'm lucky and I'm all right. I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like absolutely on my arse. I just need to get a job, soon. But doesn't everybody love? It's not so. But and saying that, I'd actually, I don't specifically mean at this moment in time. Oh my God, I ain't got my work on. It's just a bit like you can see you can see the industry changing, and you can see that it isn't going to be something, and also it isn't going to be something that I'm doing till I'm 60. If indeed most of those channels are still there by then, and actually, it's that age thing as well. I don't know how old you are, but I was 50. I'm 51 now. I was 51 last week or the week before.
Yeah. So I'm 52.
And turning 50, like I don't really mind it, but there is also a bit of me going, fuck, how did we get here? This is definitely not how I thought the land would be lying at this point. And then I go, well, you know what? You chose to join the circus, mate. Do you know what I mean? Which I did, and I wouldn't swap it for anything either, and it's done me proud for most of the time I've been doing it. And so I think it is an industry thing, and actually the other thing is, I've started doing stand-up a bit again. which I've got. So I've written a show basically about about essentially, I suppose, those youthful ambitions of wanting to be famous, and how I've kind of haven't achieved that, but I've managed to get quite close to a lot of famous people over the last. So it's like I've sort of watched it from the sidelines, as a spectator. So I do this joke about, I'm trying to get more. I found since I was 50, I'm getting more productive, and I've got. I just feel like I'm more focused and stuff like that. So I'm obviously good with a tight deadline.
I was going to say,
and that's the thing that I quite enjoy. I kind of like in the freedom that being older gives you on stage. Like the last time I properly, seriously was doing stand-up, I was in my mid-30s probably, really. I've dipped and dabbed all the while, but when I was properly doing it, and I'm not quite the same guy, I'm a different person. So, and I'm quite enjoying that and coming back at it, and the audiences look at you differently, and, you look at yourself differently and stuff. And actually, writing my own 1 hour is one of the things that, since I've been diagnosed by ADHD, I would say is one of the little victories, if I was going to talk to the therapist about it, you know what I mean, is that having identified having it sort of towards the end of COVID and what have you, learn how to cope with it and manage it. I've managed to, write. I've been doing some great shows, some of the best shows I've ever worked on. I've managed to write my own comedy hour, which I've been wanting to do really for 15 years, and I've finally done it, and I've had some nice reviews for it at Brighton, and I'm taking it to Leicester, and then so that's really nice. It feels like, although I would never consider myself, a comic in the way that true comics are comics, in that, I haven't done the hard yards. Yeah. But I did quite a lot. I did a few years, when I was in my, I was at it for a good 4 or 5 years in my 30s. And I feel like I know the people. They feel like and it feels a bit like a coming home. Yeah. To do more stand-up. And you're meeting, you reconnect with people like yourself who you go, I sort of thought we were friends, but I didn't know we were could have a proper chat, and you start to get your confidence up again, with your own material. I think is the thing, because I think a career of writing for other people is fantastic and is a discipline in itself. But you lose your own. I mean, that you write for other people, but I think when you totally immerse yourself in that and don't continue doing stand-up for yourself, you lose your persona.
Yeah, but you're thinking about their voice. So when you're writing for specific people, you're all right. So because there's been a couple of times I've sent things in, and then I'm like, oh yeah, but they wouldn't say it like that, or they wouldn't do it like that. So then you start thinking in their voice.
Yeah,
and then, like you say, something, you lose yourself. Yeah.
It's a skill in itself to do that. And also, you've got to put aside and you sort of have to do that, because if you, it just doesn't work, does it? If you're writing in someone else's voice, your comedy. But also, you've got to do that thing of, you can't think of a brilliant joke and not give it to them. If you're sat there working on their stuff, and I have seen it, I don't see it happen much actually, but over the years you see it a bit, or people. It's more that the comics think that you're doing that. Do you know what I mean? Because they can get a bit. If they think you're a stand-up, and this doesn't, they can sometimes get a bit edgy about you being a writer. This new generation of comics are more like, they sort of work together much more. They're much more cooperative lot, I think, than our lot were. But saying definitely. That, in terms of writing the material and everything, they all sort of get together and stuff, and that doesn't really happen. That never happened to me. So yeah, why was I saying that? Just that I've done another tangent on you. Well known for him.
We were talking about, I don't know what did we start with? I can't remember where we started. Funny, I was talking about my so we started sort of getting older and things changing, and what that does to your head, really, I suppose. And I think I like it, like you said. I like it. I like where I'm at. Like when I'm on stage, like last night, I did a gig for a load of young people in Soho. They were like between sort of late 20s, early 30s, all well-to-do. And what they like is that you don't go out and you slag them off. You don't go out, oh, you youngsters, you don't know. you go, do you know what? It's brilliant. It's a brilliant, where you're at is brilliant. And I want you to make the most of it. And I want you to go and do this and go and do that, because it goes really quickly. That's what I tell people. I said, look, I'm in a really good position. I've had a really good time. I'm still having a really good time. I've not wasted it in any way, shape or form. And I don't want you to. I want you to, don't be thinking, oh, I can't wait till I get to that age or that age, or I can't wait. Like, enjoy now, because it goes quick.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're going to be in your 50s and you're going to go, where the fuck did that go?
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I've sort of realised, because I've sort of beat myself up quite a lot for not doing my stand-up, really, you know, for a long, long time. And it was a real sort of frustration. And, you know, it's a brilliant thing to get out and do it. And the ageism isn't really there either. I think that's a misconception as well, is that, you know, a bit like, you know, they'll listen to Elton John and... you know, Vampire Weekend. They'll also, you know, they will watch a 52-year-old man having his nervous breakdown on stage, as well as the 25-year-old talking about, you know, the Riz or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then there's a lot of power as well in not knowing anything about their, you know, knowing that they kind of live in a slightly different world to you. There's a lot of fun in that, isn't there?
I think embracing the fact that generations, like, there comes a time, like we mentioned fashion earlier, there's a time when, like, you're keeping up with it, or you go, oh, that's cool. Then one day a fashion will come in and you'll go, that's ridiculous, that looks stupid. And then you go, oh, this is it now. This is where I say goodbye to like you know, mega fashion and what you're supposed to do. And you start finding bits for yourself and dressing how you want to do it. Yeah. And there's like, now everyone's walking around looking like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, and
it does seem to be that there's a sort of like Mormon-y kind of Christian-y a bit of a preppy sort of Mormon vibe to it, isn't it?
Like a real kind of like an uncle who, like, in his slacks, you know, and his sandals and his socks.
I do love it though. I like trying to keep abreast of youth culture, I suppose. I find it endlessly interesting, and I kind of love the new ways they'll come up with completely confounding me. Or like, you know, my daughter's generation, they're sort of Gen Z really, and, you know, I think it's, and by the way, I think this is brilliant, right? I'm just making this as an observation, right? But she goes to a girls' school, right? And all of them are obsessed by their, like, where on the spectrum of sexuality they are. You know, they've all playing around with pronouns. Some of them are changing their names to other things. Some of them are identified as they, them. Others, you know, and they really, and obviously, you know, I'm perfectly at home with that. I think, you know, go for it, right? But I won't pretend either that I'm also slightly baffled by the 1,000,001 different things that you know. Where I find it, I don't pretend to understand it, if you know what I mean, right? And I think that I think that's all right. Do you know what I mean? I think it's all right to not understand and to sort of, but enjoy. That's the thing. I think is I'm not a grumpy old man about it at all. I enjoy the fact that I'm like, well done, young people. I'm a left-wing, right-on, liberal dad, and you've come up with something that completely blows my mind.
Well, you've had you've had 45 years of conditioning. Like, it's this way, it's this way, it's this way. And then one day they all went, well, why are we doing it that way? Why don't we do it this way? And we all went, well, I didn't know you could do that.
I know. It's like, you know, and you know, I think, you know, you present yourself, think of myself as kind of a real right-on dad and everything, and then, you know, my daughter will come home and go, but you know, I'm going out with so and so now. We're both pansexuals or something, and this is coming from my 11-year-old daughter, right? And I love it myself. I think it's interesting. I think it's pushing what the world is. They're finding out about themselves, you know. But it isn't how my generation approached it at all. You know, I mean, I was met up with an old mate of mine from school who's gay, right? And we were just talking a little bit about this, about how incredibly, like, the idea that, I mean, everyone's saying they're gay, even if they're not at primary school.
Yeah.
Now, right?
Oh,
the
wow.
idea that you would, even know that about yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd have enough information an insight that you'd been given from the world around you to actually know that about yourself. So, it's brilliant. You see those things have progressed massively, haven't they? In many ways.
You go through there's a filter in your head, isn't there? When the conversations first started happening about gender roles and gender and you go through it in your head where your brain goes, that sounds stupid, that's daft, bloody kids, and then you go, actually that's pretty cool. Oh, actually, yeah, I could have done with that when I was growing. Oh, actually, right, yeah. Oh, so we're just more accepting and people could be more who they are. Oh, this is really cool, and that's how the filter works. With the older generation.
Well, I think when you see the kids who are allowed to find themselves, like as opposed to and you kind of see it, you can see, you look like a much happier child than you did 2 years ago, and this is, I'm not talking about being fully trans or anything like that. I'm talking about being able to have the space to, experiment with what you call yourself or how you're seen by the world. I think that's okay. I think that's interesting, and we can learn a lot from that. I think.
I'd say,
It just what I think they can also learn a little bit from class politics though as well, of the generation before. I just wish they'd listen a little bit more to the, because I think all of those things are fantastic, and should be part of people's chance to be as liberated and as free as they can be. But actually, our greatest power is not how diverse we are, is it? The greatest power we have is what we have in common.
Yes.
And most people, we should talk, I think, in terms of diversity is fantastic because it's unifying, because everyone gets to be themselves. And I think that we don't talk enough about universality now. I don't think that, we all are essentially getting, shafted roughly from the same direction.
Yes.
And class is, might not be the first thing that springs to mind for a lot of people, but it's also the one where you can actually change stuff because, you can go on strike.
Yeah.
Or you have power as a group of workers. So you kind of go, that, I would like you to not completely go down a sort of road of identity individualism, and totally, I think you need to also look at the collective power and benefits of us seeing the similarities rather than the differences.
Oh God, yeah, there's great power.
A good thing to do.
Yeah, when we all, as one, go, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna frequent that. I'm not going to that shop. I am not gonna buy that thing.
Yeah,
it's
I am not
going
to tell you this joke unless you give me the. That's how it would have worked in the barter days, isn't it? Unless you give me those oranges. Yeah. Funnily enough, actually, because we're not. While I was saying, work is patchy and stuff. I've been using the time. One of the things I've been doing is trying to write a play. So I've written quite a few sitcom scripts, and I've written like a couple of film scripts and pitches and done all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've never really, weirdly written a play, and part of the reason I'm writing it ties into what we're talking about is that there's something very liberating about being able to just do it. It's manageable. I can actually get that happening. Whereas all the long form stuff I've ever written, all the sitcoms, all that kind of stuff, has been read. I've had options on stuff. I've had almost theirs. Never got made though. It's only probably been read by 10 people. So you're kind of going, I'd rather just make stuff. I'd rather get it made, right? But the reason I mention it now is because it's about, and I've more or less finished writing it, but I'm sort of polishing it and messing around with it. So it'll stay on my computer for another 10 years, right? As we know, right? Just to mature like a fucking cheese or a wine or something, right? And then I'll open it. But it's about, and you might not know about this. Have you ever heard of the Great Music Hall War of 1907?
Vaguely, but tell us.
It's the first time there was ever a mass strike of variety artists, right? So
Right.
in January 1907, all the comedians, all the dancers, all the magicians, all the jugglers, all the stagehands and the musicians all went out on strike for 2 weeks over a number of issues and were victorious. And all the big music hall stars of the day got involved and everything. Mary Lloyd was there, and and it's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And very, very undertold, really. Because what's great about it, because everyone thinks of comedians or performers as these like individualists, autonomous individuals who do their thing, and they're not part of the real world in a way. And in a way that's a bit true, because everyone, I think, wants to forge their own. There's a strong individuals in performing, isn't there, generally? But actually, those people have the ability to come together as a community as much as any other set of workers. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, it has been tried a few comedically aborted times over the years, like a comedians' union.
There's talk of it again because...
Good.
Yeah, because
there is.
people are saying like the fees haven't gone up in 20 years and things are getting more expensive to get about. And just a thing like Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Festival is becoming virtually impossible for anybody from like a working class background to even think about going up to. And so...
No, I know. Even if you go free fringe. Even if you go free fringe, there's no guarantee that you can... no, you can't. And you know what? I don't know how you get around that, because you could give bursaries and grants to everybody to go, of course. But bearing in mind, I don't know that that's going to happen. Like, it's the advent of Airbnb, isn't it? You know, it's like, if people in the past, I remember, on the 3 times I've been up and done it, where you go up for the month and you rent a house.
Yeah.
It would be a matter of either it was a student house and the landlord was making a few quid over the summer, and so we'd just rent it for a flat fee of whatever it was for the month, or it was people who went, hang on, we can have a free holiday on the back of, for a whole month, and let these people stay in our house. And it was a lovely, again, it had an element of, people used to go and stay with the same people or stay in the same house, didn't they?
Yeah.
There was a lot of connections. It helped people connect, and now it's, and I get it, if people can get £200 a night for that room, but they won't for long, will they? Because once there's no acts to go and see, no one's going to pay 250 quid for the room, are they?
But I think that's it. But people are always saying it's becoming too expensive. And it just needs everybody to go, do you know what? Unless it changes, none of us are going. We need to unify and go, we won't go then. And then what are you going to do? But the trouble is, people won't do that, or because they genuinely think they're going to miss out. And
people invest. I get it as well. I get it. People invest so much time, effort, emotional investment into making it. Into being, to get in through that like glass ceiling, or to get into the secret club or whatever. And the truth is, right, is I've been on both sides of that coin, right? I've been up to Edinburgh and scouted, as a TV producer and with those people, and I've also been up as a comedian. And the truth is that, you know what, I don't know, it might have changed now, but in the days that I was doing it, people would go and see everyone. It wasn't you don't need to. In fact, it's quite distasteful to be the person who's pushing yourself to the front of the queue all the time. It's not actually the way to do it. The way to do it is to, your peers do it for you, I think, really.
Yes.
Once you get, that's the people who get you. If TV producers are being told so-and-so's amazing by someone they think is amazing, that's counting for a lot more than a million letters, pushing yourself in their face. And, all those, that idea that you can jump the queue in some way. Do you know what I mean? Also, people have got to get, that does happen, but that's showbiz for you. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be like working in a bank where you do your hard yards and then you get promoted and then you get promoted and then finally you get to be the bank manager. It just isn't like that. And you know, we all knew that coming in. So, you know, that's it really, I think, you know.
Yeah.
But people should get together and realise that actually, you know, it's a bit of a mental profession, but actually it is a profession.
Yeah.
There is a, you know, however many, you know, whatever the figures are, hundreds and millions of pounds goes through the live comedy entertainment till every year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And a precious little of that is sustaining the comedians, really, you know. And so that does have to change, and it's difficult, isn't it, when, you know, if you put a club night on and you get it rammed with 80 people, right, and you can pay, you know, they've paying 12 quid, 15 quid on the door. Even that's that amount of money. You can't make more than that out of that room. You can't. You go. I suppose you can go to a bigger room, but it stops being. You know, that becomes a different thing, doesn't it? So, what used to be a way of you could kind of earn a bit of a living running clubs, couldn't you? I think. Yeah. Did you ever run? You used to run a club, didn't you?
I've done. I used to be the manager, so it wasn't my club. I was the manager, and then I've put on my own nights, and there is an effort that goes into it that people don't understand. It's not just finding a room. You got to find the right room. You've got to have the right sound. You have the right lights. You've got to book the right acts that are gonna do the job.
It's not easy at all.
It's not easy.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and the margin is nothing.
Yeah.
And you know, and I understand that the comedian looks around the room and goes, "Well, hang on," does the maths and goes, "Well, hang on a second, can I have some more?" And you're going, "Well, yeah, but also, you've done a day's work on this. I've been working.
Yeah.
I've done 2 weeks on it. You know, so you know, really getting it together. And I think it's hard. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to it really, other than, you know, I think online is probably the thing to do. It's like you say, you could probably monetize you can monetize a 50-seater club, can't you?
Of course
you can. And make to be, you know, so the ticket price starts to not really be what it's all about.
Well, we've tried it with our, because producer Paul and I have got Dark Horse Live in Tunbridge Wells, and that's only a 50-seater room, and we were trying to stream that and get people to buy tickets to watch it online, but their internet was so shit we couldn't. We had to abort. That's something else as well. You've got to get a decent internet connection. That's like, you know, as important as the stage, isn't it? Yeah,
really. You know, as important as the microphone.
Yeah.
You know, now.
And it's all setting up like.
And I think that's the way to go, and not to. I mean, everyone's up in arms at the moment, aren't they, about the fact that like the internet's full of people doing crowd work and all that stuff. Which, you know, have you seen all those debates about? You know, lots of comedians put up 4 GoPros and just do crowd work rather than doing their routines. Which I don't know if that's the case or not. Really, I've not really seen it happening. But I've seen a
few people that you can see that they're trying to orchestrate something happening, and you're like, if you just do your material, at some point at a gig something will happen that you're not expecting, but if you go out and try and make something happen, it's gonna look shit. You're gonna look like you're trying too hard.
Exactly.
You know?
And you see too, and I've heard a few promoters getting annoyed that the night, it slightly can off balance the night if, you know, you have 3 people going up and they're all trying to create moments with the room deliberately. And I think one way around that is like what you say is you can just bill it as a streamed night and stuff. You know, I've talked about streaming a few times about stuff because it is the one area it feels to me of the online world and I don't mean streaming as in Netflix and stuff. I mean like live streams on YouTube and things. Live streams is really what I mean.
Yes.
Which are scheduled, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like old-fashioned telly in the sense that you go, we're going to do a live stream at 7:30 on Friday night, and you create a kind of mass of people to come and watch that at that time, which creates the buzz. But the real money is made off the people who weren't there on the night, you know, watching it after the fact. And I tell you, you should check out, is it the Beta Squad? Have you ever heard of them?
No.
They're like a bunch of blokes, like British lads. They are. They're a bit like the KIS sort of.
Right.
They're all this sort of social media type people, guys,
Yeah.
and you might even be in them actually. I can't really remember, but the Beta Squad, and they do a once a week, like a Friday night stream where they play a couple of like kind of the sort of game, like blind datey kind of games or silly kind of, parlour game sort of stuff that you might have 20 years ago seen heavily produced on Saturday night television.
Yeah.
They're doing in a bedroom, in a not a very big studio, with props they bought down the shop, So it's sort of the same, but it's sort of different. But I do think that if you can create an occasion which creates a moment, and then you give them really good content, a really good, tight comedy show or variety show or whatever it is, I do think that is something that clubs should look at really, because and that would be then you could really start paying people, couldn't you?
Yeah. That's it. As I said, as I talked about the Dark Horse Live, I saw producer Paul actually physically shudder at the amount of effort that used to go into, because I'd rock up whatever time I'd rock up, put a few chairs out maybe, and then do the gig. And one day it just occurred to me, I was sitting in my flat, I went, oh shit, he's there now. Like, this is like a good few hours before the gig, setting up the cameras, getting it ready. For very
the
little
unsung
reward.
heroes, mate. I mean, having been a TV producer myself, I've got me. I feel like me and Paul have got an unshakable understanding of what it is to manage talent such as yourself.
That's it. I just rock up, get a pint,
Trixie.
and go, look at that. Well, this is brilliant this night. It's so easy.
Trixie divas like you. You've got to learn how to pussyfoot around them.
That's my drag name. Steve, this has been lovely. I could talk to you all day, mate.
Mate, I've really enjoyed it. I didn't know what to expect. It's been lovely. It's been
just
fun.
A nice chat, nice connection. Where can we find you on the socials?
Socials. I'll have to hang on.
That's all right. Have you got gigs coming up? Have you got anything you want to plug?
I have. I'm doing a gig on the 28th of 28th of November, which is a Wednesday. It's the St Giles Club in middle of town in West End. And that is for the Stop the War Coalition. Okay. And it's a fundraiser. They've been doing loads of stuff, organising protests around what's going on in Palestine, and get involved in debates about all sorts of stuff. They do quite a lot of. They put themselves out there, and so they're good. So I'm doing that alongside. I'm very proud to say Alexi Sales, the main turn, and an excellent bill of other people who Don Biswas is doing it.
Brilliant.
I love Don.
Yeah, he's great.
And there is Esther
Manito.
Manito is doing it,
she's
and a few other people whose names I don't know are doing it. So that's on the 28th in London, and then the next thing really is in Leicester, the Leicester Comedy Festival. On the 21st in the 21st at the Exchange, the Just the Tonic Exchange, at 8:30 in the evening.
That's a great venue.
Have you played there?
That's what I did last year. It's a brilliant venue.
Did you?
I'm there next year as well.
Are you? When are you doing it?
November the 8th. I'm going to be up there. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I might come up actually earlier on in the month to chivvy people along to my show.
I think you need to
flyer in and all that stuff. Coming to get involved a bit with it.
That's it.
But I will tell you I never ever remember my handles, but that again is a sign of my age, isn't it? Hang on. You can edit this bit out, Paul, and give you some work to do, innit, Paul? Give him something to do.
Yeah.
I have got him in front of me, but I was just going to let you get on.
You
Twitter
bastard.
At Steve J Parry. Instagram.
Twitter.
At Steve Parry 73.
That's right.
What's
right.
The Facebook?
I was just
Facebook at steve.parry.58.
Paul.
Finally, Paul earns his money.
We'll put them all in the
Where
episode
would we
notes.
be without producers? The hidden heroes.
Exactly. Like I said, this wouldn't even get into your ears or eyes if it wasn't for producer Paul. I just have a load of chats with people. Anyway, but Steve, thank you so much, mate.
Mate, thank you so much for having
pleasure.
me. And yeah, let's do it in person soon.
Yeah,
That'd
I'd love
be
that.
lovely. I'll come and watch you, actually. I'll come down to a show.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
I'll have a look and pop along, because it'll be nice.
Mate, always welcome. It'd be nice to see you have a pint or a coffee or something. That'd be great.
Yeah,
I'll be up for
absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
This has been. I love the podcast, by the way. It's really good. I enjoyed Martin last week or whatever it was.
Oh,
and then,
yeah. It was good to get him
I've been
on.
listening to quite a few of them over the. I listened to them. I'm a fan.
Mate. That really
So,
means a
well
lot.
done.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know what to do with that. It's like when you get
Oh,
someone
no,
doing
is
a
it-
really your heckle. Go, your shoes
No,
are nice.
Is he going to cry?
Well, thanks, Steve. This has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been Steve Parry. I've been Rich Wilson, and we'll see you next time.